2011 northeastern Japan. A wall of water, 14 meters tall, moving at the speed of a bullet train, hits the coastline in under 20 minutes. Nearly 20,000 people are killed. Entire towns simply cease to exist. Look at the footage. That's not a wave. That's the ocean deciding to reclaim land. In the last 50 years, storms and rising seas have caused close to $4 trillion in damage worldwide. Tens of millions of people forced from their homes. Critical infrastructure, ports, power plants, hospitals, gone in hours. So how does humanity fight back against something this powerful? The answer isn't glamorous. It's concrete, it's steel, it's geometry. Welcome to Quint Tech Process. Today, we're breaking down the 6 most sophisticated coastal defense systems ever built, how they work, what they cost, and what had to be sacrificed to build them. Let's go. 1/3 of the Netherlands sits below sea level, not slightly below, meters below. If the ocean ever got through unchecked, it wouldn't just flood streets, it would wipe out ecosystems, collapse agricultural land, and displace millions of people permanently. So the Dutch built something the world had never seen before. Stretching nearly 9 kilometers across the North Sea Delta, this storm surge barrier is held up by more than 60 reinforced concrete piers, each one weighing tens of thousands of tons. Picture 60 concrete blocks, each heavier than a fully loaded cargo ship, lowered onto the seabed with centimeter-level precision. Not within a foot, not within an inch, within centimeters, because a deviation of just a few centimeters in placement could destabilize the entire 9-kilometer structure. Between those piers hang 62 steel gates, and here's what makes this system genuinely extraordinary. Under normal conditions, the gates stay fully open. The tides come in and go out, fish migrate freely, ships pass through without stopping. The entire saline ecosystem of the estuary, one of the most ecologically important marine habitats in the region, functions exactly as nature intended. Fishermen have worked these waters for generations, and the barrier doesn't interrupt that. The gates only close when weather forecasts indicate water levels will exceed 3 meters above national reference level. At that point, hydraulic cylinders slowly lower the steel gates over several hours, sealing the inlet completely. What was an open waterway becomes a continuous wall capable of absorbing the full force of a North Sea storm. This isn't brute force engineering, it's surgical. Intervene only when necessary. Leave nature alone the rest of the time. That's the philosophy, and it's why engineers around the world still consider it the most elegant flood defense ever built. Many call it the 8th wonder of the world. After standing at the site, it's hard to disagree. But a fixed barrier has a problem. What about coastlines that are hundreds of kilometers long? You can't build a gate across an entire country. Here's what engineers came up with instead, and the answer looks nothing like what you'd expect. If you've ever walked along a harbor wall or a coastal breakwater, you've almost certainly walked past these without knowing what they are. They look like industrial waste, concrete debris, 4-armed blocks thrown haphazardly along the shore. They're tetrapods, and they are one of the most effective passive defense technologies ever engineered. Here's how they're made. A 3-part steel mold is coated with a release agent so it can be reused without damaging the surface. Liquid concrete is poured in, then subjected to mechanical vibration, a critical step. That vibration eliminates every air bubble and internal void because even a microscopic pocket of air becomes a fracture point after years of repeated wave impact. Once cured, the mold comes apart to reveal a finished unit with 4 arms extending outward at precise angles. A single tetrapod can weigh up to 25 tons. That's roughly the weight of 4 adult African elephants, and that mass alone gives it stability against large waves. But the real genius isn't the weight, it's the interlocking system. Tetrapods aren't stacked neatly. They're placed so their arms hook into each other, deliberately, mathematically. When a wave hits, the force isn't absorbed by one block. It's dispersed across dozens of interlocking units at the same time. The energy gets broken apart before it ever reaches the coastline. There's a vulnerability here, though. If one tetrapod is dislodged and washed away, the units around it lose their interlocking support. The failure spreads in a chain reaction. That's why installation precision matters as much as manufacturing precision. Building 1 kilometer of tetrapod breakwater costs more than $10 million, but engineers consistently argue that number looks very different when you compare it to the cost of a single major storm event left unchecked. Tetrapods aren't trying to stop the ocean, they're designed to exhaust it. So what happens when engineers ask, can we achieve the same effect with significantly less material? The answer required a completely new approach to geometry, and it changed coastal defense permanently. Once tetrapods became standard, coastal engineers started pushing a harder question. What if the shape itself could do more of the work? The X-block was the answer. Developed by a hydraulic engineering consultancy in the Netherlands, its key innovation is deceptively simple. Where tetrapods need multiple layers and careful placement to achieve stability, the X-shaped block is designed to self-lock in a single armor layer. As you place the blocks, the geometry forces them to interconnect automatically, creating a highly porous surface that scatters wave energy rather than reflecting it back. Less concrete, less space, less precision required during installation, same protection or better. Production has been heavily automated, which keeps quality consistent across large-scale manufacturing runs. The trade-off is specialized factory equipment. This isn't something you can produce in a generic concrete plant. What this represents is a shift in the entire philosophy of the field. Coastal engineering used to be about mass, build it heavier, build it thicker. X-block proved that geometry can outperform weight. The wave doesn't care how heavy the block is, it cares about the path it has to take through the structure. Force the wave to work against itself. That's the new standard. But not every country has the luxury of building smarter. Some face a threat so severe, so immediate, that the only response is to build bigger than anything that came before. What Japan built along its northeastern coastline will genuinely stop you. Japan is an island nation. It sits at the intersection of multiple tectonic plates, exposed to typhoons, storm surges, and tsunamis simultaneously. The threat isn't theoretical. It has been catastrophic repeatedly throughout Japanese history. After 2011, Japan made a decision: build walls, big ones. Along the northeastern coastline, a series of massive concrete seawalls runs for a combined total exceeding 400 kilometers. In many sections, these walls rise 12 to 14 meters. That's a 4- or 5-story building running parallel to the shore as far as the eye can see. From an engineering standpoint, this is extraordinary. Foundations deeply reinforced to resist erosion. Concrete panels designed to withstand large waves, reverse surge currents, and seismic activity simultaneously. The total cost runs into the tens of billions of dollars, one of the most expensive disaster mitigation investments in modern history. But the moment construction began, communities pushed back hard. Think about what it means to live behind a wall that tall. The fishing village where your grandfather watched the sunrise over the sea? That view is gone, permanently. The cultural and psychological connection between coastal communities and the ocean, built over generations, severed by concrete. A resident from one of these towns described it simply: "We can't see the sea anymore. We know it's there, but we can't see it." Japan weighed the trade-off and made its choice: the view for the lives. Whether that was the right decision is still being debated. What's not debated is this: when the next major tsunami comes, those walls will hold. Japan chose a permanent wall, but what if your city is too historically significant to wall off? What if the structure you're protecting is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that billions of people consider irreplaceable? Venice had to find a completely different answer, one that hides underwater until it's needed. Venice, one of the most recognized cities on Earth, and one of the most structurally fragile. Flooding here isn't a rare event anymore. It's a recurring condition. The frequency and severity have both been increasing for decades. Beyond reinforcing individual buildings and shoreline structures, the city needed a defense system that could protect the entire lagoon without destroying the aesthetic that makes Venice what it is. The solution: 78 hollow steel gates resting on the seabed at the 3 main inlets connecting the Venetian lagoon to the open sea. Under normal conditions, they're invisible. The lagoon looks exactly as it always has. Under water shot, gates lying flat on the seabed, then compressed air activating. When tidal forecasts indicate water levels will exceed 110 centimeters above mean sea level, compressed air is pumped into each gate. The water inside the hollow structure is displaced. The gates rise, all 78 of them simultaneously, forming 4 continuous flood barriers across the inlets. Each gate holds itself at approximately 45 degrees, and the system continuously adjusts the air-to-water ratio in each unit to maintain stability as tidal pressure shifts. When the flood event passes, water is reintroduced into the gates to weigh them back down. They return to their horizontal rest position on the seabed. The lagoon goes back to looking like nothing happened. This system also generates a continuous stream of scientific data on tidal patterns and long-term climate variation, real-world information that's proving invaluable to researchers studying sea level change globally. It's not a wall, it's a mechanism that appears only when the city needs it and disappears completely when it doesn't. Spanning the River Thames in Woolwich in East London, this structure holds a record it set when it was completed in the 1980s, the largest movable flood barrier ever built at the time. It still ranks among the most impressive pieces of urban hydraulic engineering on the planet. 10 steel gates stretching 520 meters across the river. Under normal conditions, the 6 central gates rest open on the riverbed. Ships pass through. The Thames flows normally. Most Londoners go years without thinking about it. When a storm surge warning comes in, the order to close is issued. The process takes 90 minutes. The gates rotate upward from the riverbed, forming a continuous wall across the Thames. Each gate can rise up to 20 meters, roughly the height of a 6-story building above the waterline, capable of holding back thousands of tons of surge pressure. The system holds in the closed position for 4 to 5 hours, allowing the peak surge to pass. Then the gates lower, the river returns to normal. 1.4 million people, hundreds of billions of pounds worth of infrastructure, property, and economic activity, protected by a structure that most of them have never once thought about. The Thames barrier doesn't try to control the river permanently. It just waits, precisely calibrated, always ready, and intervenes at exactly the right moment for exactly as long as necessary. That restraint is itself a form of engineering mastery. Along South Korea's coastline, exposed to significant wave energy from both the Yellow Sea and the East Sea, engineers developed something more sophisticated than any single barrier, a defense built in 2 distinct layers, each one handling what the other can't. The outer layer is a field of tetrapods placed offshore. Incoming waves break apart and lose momentum passing through the interlocking concrete units. What reaches shore is significantly weakened, but not gone. Behind the tetrapod field stands a perforated wave-reflecting wall. Unlike a flat concrete face that would absorb impact and drive pressure downward into the foundation, this wall has hollow chambers at its base. When weakened waves hit it, water and sand surge into those cavities. The pressure is redirected upward, converting horizontal wave momentum into vertical disruption. The horizontal force acting on the foundation is dramatically reduced. This also addresses seabed scour, the gradual erosion of material beneath the structure that causes traditional seawalls to weaken and fail over time. By redirecting energy upward instead of concentrating it at the base, the system dramatically extends the working life of the wall. 2 layers, each one weakening what the other passes through. The ocean doesn't get stopped, it gets exhausted, step by step, before it reaches anything worth protecting. That tetrapod you walked past at the beach? It's a 25-ton shield, doing its job silently every single day. If you want to keep decoding the hidden engineering protecting your world, subscribe to Quit Tech Process, hit the notification bell, and stay with us. There's a lot more holding the line than you think.